All right. Hello, hello. Welcome everyone back to another in studio, I think, edition. The sun's still shining on my back. Edition of the Happy Hour Show. We have Crypto Vince. How you doing, Crypto Vince?
Doing good, man.
And first time guest, Crypto Sloth. So we're going to talk a lot of Hedron, and ICOSA. How you doing, my friend?
Dude, doing great. Thanks for having me on. It's an honor to be on the Cabana Crypto show.
Thanks, man. Thanks. We were talking in the green room, been watching a lot of your videos lately, along with graphics. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it, but after watching your videos, I think you have plenty to say about the topics that we will cover here.
I'll do my best to hold down the fort, but next time graphics can help me out.
Yeah. Oh, wait, there's a flasher here. Who?
Yo, what's up, everyone? Cheers, Cabana, for bringing me on. I'll just be here for 1 minute. I'm actually stood outside Nottingham University right now. Yeah, met Moomin Man for the first time today. Been friends with him for almost a year now. Never met him in real life, and he is the co-founder of Poor Pleb. Poor Pleb Sacrifice ends tomorrow. You have 24 hours basically from this point. I think 25 or 6 hours. We've done nearly $1 million. What the fuck? Nearly $1 million for a fucking meme coin. Whales get nothing. Whales get nothing on the free claim, but up to 2 million wallets can claim this shit for free. No one knows what the free claim amount is going to be. But yeah, mate, I'm ecstatic. Like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? Nearly $1 million. Crazy. So if you want to jump on that, poorpleb.win. Thank you, Cabana, for giving me a minute there.
Heck yeah, man. Awesome. Good to see you. Good to see you. I know your battery's dying, but at least wanted to get you on with that special announcement. So just to confirm, tomorrow night is the last chance for your sack, right?
Yeah, after that, then your sack may not be counted, but you may still get wrecked, as Dan BK said in our duck race the other day, which is quite fun. So yeah, but yeah, awesome. Peace. Anyway, that's So thank you for giving me the floor there for a minute. I appreciate you guys. My battery has got like 5% left, so I'm probably gonna have to go. But you guys rock, man. Thank you so much. And I'll catch you on the other side. I'll be live tomorrow night while it goes on. So if you want to see what we end up on, just come to my channel tomorroh night, Hexy Bastard on YouTube.
There you go. Awesome. Chill it.
Chilling.
Good to see you, man.
All right. So, yeah, if you want your piece of the PP, get your sack in tomorrow. All the other references. Mr. Motley Investor, how are you doing? Didn't know if we'd be graced by your presence, but thanks for hopping by.
Just for a little bit. Have a little dinner party going with some Mexicans. So
nice.
First one comes on the door, I'm probably gonna hop off.
Gotcha. And we just got rated from DJ Cryptomatic. So Freddie Quotes was in the bunch. DJ Nom Nom, what's up, everybody? So happy to have you guys come on over. He had a country western show with one of my favorite music videos, Midland's Mr. Lonely. But anyway, yeah, for you dudes out there who might be into viewing certain types of line dancing, next time. Jim Rat, what's up? Kaiza, everybody, Dougie, Flames, Finbear, Chris, Archie, Crypto Harpy, what's going on, my friend? Hex in Effect, we got a lot of people in here. What's going on, everybody? And who's this guy?
What's up, gentlemen? What's
Big
going
K?
on?
What's up, Big K?
Glad to be here, y'all. How's everybody doing?
Good, man. You were staking and baking yesterday. Did you have fun?
I was staking and baking. Was that yesterday? Shit, it was yesterday. Huh?
Shit.
Damn, that was a crazy day because I staked and baked. I went to see a show in Orlando and then just got home today, and I'm pretty beat. So, doing the best
2 days
I can.
ago, says Freddie. So
yeah, that's what I said. I thought it was 2 days ago. I was like,
you never know.
I mean, I was high, but I wasn't that high.
You weren't gonna refute the one day.
No, I wasn't either. I was like, I'm not 100% sure, so everything's been kind of a blur.
Take your word for it.
I'll take your word for it.
DJ Cryptomatic. Shit.
Shit. Oh yeah, that was awesome. We had a blast, man. Tangents fight. It's hilarious, man. I enjoyed
Dude,
that.
he had all kinds of shit from what I saw.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, I went back and watched after I left. He was by the end. He was just like, just guzzling the wine bottle down.
It was like crossfaded like 4 different ways.
Yeah, that was great. We had a blast. That was lots of fun. So, how's everybody doing out here today? Maybe we'll talk about actually crypto today instead of whatever the hell we were talking about a couple of days ago.
Do you remember what you were talking about?
I feel like we touched on the life, universe, everything, man.
That's typically what happens, when you go down certain avenues, I guess. So yeah, good for you guys. We can talk about this little chart here. This is the HEX price. And I just wanted to bring this up really quick because it was the very end of last week's show when I think Motley was on here, Tendies was on here, and we were way down. We were actually under 4 cents, and we were like, you know what? Not financial advice, but it might not be the worst time to maybe look at HEX. So we're up 20% from that level, and the market's actually pretty much all markets just took a nasty dive today, and HEX is kind of just above where it was, 20%. So
yeah, and I mean, and we also have good reason for the HEX. Like you've seen some emergency unstakes, some people selling large amounts pretty recently. So like, I mean, it's not it's pretty notable. You can there it is. So
You got a pretty solid payout coming out soon, right? Like the HEX daily payout, right?
that we do 13.2
Big
awesome.
last night. Yeah.
per T-share.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around that EES because the wallet has like still 200 million some odd HEX in it. So like
it
Did they
obviously
need-
the time lined up with that terrible Fed meeting this morning, like almost to the dot after it was over. So that's my only speculation. A lot of people were like saying like it's a hack, but it just doesn't make any sense, right? Because
it would have all been moved out, but
there's $10 million worth of HEX. The only thing they've transferred out is the USDC they swapped over. But I foresee that HEX probably getting dumped potentially over the next couple of days if they were willing to throw out $6.74 million of HEX instead of waiting 3 months. I think it just makes sense that they're planning on dumping that. So we'll see. I'm watching.
Well, so that was my question. I kind of looked through that stake that they unstaked, and was it like a 400 million stake that they paid 150 in penalties on, or was that 200 already liquid in there and they just also unstaked another stake early? I didn't know. Does anybody know what happened there? Because like
I just saw the 150 million HEX stake they nuked early and lost 6.74 million. I didn't see I didn't go through and do a deep
if you look at his wallet, you see he's got 200 million some odd still in there,
right.
And like that wasn't from that stake. So like, why in that? Like again, it's still perplexing me. I'm like, why would you EES when you've got hundreds of millions like liquid? I can't. I don't know what people But again, it's just like Richard said before. Like I am overall surprised that there are still as many EESs in the system this far into HEX being a thing as there is, especially large payout ones. It's mind-blowing.
If it is a case of weak hands, like those are the players that you need to get out during this bear market. So one of a few more we probably need to remove, honestly.
Better to get them out now than later, honestly.
Yeah.
Always better
Let's get it over.
get them now. Yep.
Rip the Band-Aid off in one clean motion.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're willing to, then I'm also willing to too. Let's do it.
It looks like they have one big one left for 150 million, December 3rd of this year,
And that's it.
and that's it.
And then a little tiny one all the way out there. It looks like.
Little wee 11 million in 2030.
Didn't really fill in those rungs too much.
Well, maybe they have
bottom top rung.
multiple
Have other
wallets.
wallets. Yeah.
Yeah, the real chin analysis people out here can maybe check if there was any referrals early on, what happened with that. If there's any free claims early on, what happened with that.
Yeah,
I'm not going to because
I might go through it in a while. I might check it out.
Rectember.
Yeah, Wendy's says shaping up to be a rectember to remember, and he very might well be right. I mean, one of the old sayings is don't fight the Fed, right? And Jerome Powell pretty much came out this morning, as Motley referenced, and that's pretty much why you saw markets today. And it's like, if you want to buy into that, go right ahead. I will not touch it. I actually, just in like legacy markets, I sold some names that I had less conviction on, just to have that cash on hand, because I just didn't feel good about this morning. And yeah, that proved to be a good call. And I don't think we're done. And if you ask Wendy's and maybe a couple of guys, in this panel, they might say the same thing. So, any thoughts on, just kind of for the U.S. markets, because they do dictate a lot of the markets, the way the Fed's going, because I know we have like CPI, inflation, and everybody looks at that, but to me, they're lagging indicators. So it's like, okay, I thought inflation peaked above 9%. I thought that was it. But what you then have, there's still a couple things you got to get through. You got to get through the Fed raising rates, so they got to be done, and you have to get through earnings revisions. And I bring all this stuff up because it does tie back to crypto from the main markets. The S&P, if the S&P takes a big dump, chances are Bitcoin is going to dump, and the rest of crypto is going to follow. So it does have bearing on a lot of things. So when we look at that kind of like trickle down kind of thing, I think we still have a ways to go in traditional markets. Will crypto bottom first? I don't know.
I mean, it's the most it's more speculative than the others, I believe. So like, if we're in a risk off climate, then you'd hope that it would, it would make sense that it would bottom first, but we'll see. I mean, I think we've all been expecting or planning on there being another leg down with Bitcoin, and when that happened, I mean, honestly, I was hoping that, I liked the pumps that we did have, because, cutting in half from 7 cents, 8 cents is a lot better than cutting in half from 4 cents, so, I mean, I'll take whatever we can get, but I'm not also, I definitely, it's, there's a lot of a confluence of many things going on besides just what you see in traditional markets. There's this, the spookiness of, the Jewish calendar, so the 7-year calendar cycle happening at the end of coming up here too, that always shakes markets. There's a bunch of different things that are out there that people are all looking at to be afraid of right now, so yeah.
Randy,
I wasn't gonna attempt to butcher it, but
yep,
that worked.
And good point by Hex 19 here. Legacy markets, September is the worst on average. A lot of people think it's October, but it is.
It's people's pain is a lagging indicator. People feel the pain and act like, it's so bad, and you're like, no, it already was bad. It was just you're now feeling it hard. So that's why I think people tend to think October is the worst.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It could even get. I mean, like the way that he's speaking, the way that they may continue to raise rates through the end of the year, means that, I would love for September to be like the worst of the worst, maybe December is the worst of the worst.
Yep. And we talked about that last week with Wendy's and Motley. It's like, if you have a chance to get fiat, like the bottoms of these market cycles don't last forever. So if you have a chance like this to pick up fiat, work, put a lot of hours in. I know Wendy's did, as a nurse, he was putting, into crypto. He was making the fiat, multiply it in crypto. That we're in that cycle now. So, I mean, it's not going to ground down around here forever. Maybe a few more months, maybe another month, maybe early next year. But these are the opportunities that you look back on maybe a few years from now and be like, man, if I just, put a little bit more in, how much, could I have now? So now's the time to get your nose to the grindstone and get after it, in my opinion.
Indeed.
Life advice, not financial. So.
Well, it's funny. There's on someone commented on the thread today, and they were talking about just like, wow, it was so cheap for T-shares back in the day. I was like, yeah, like hindsight's great and all, but like it was just there's a lot of unknowns. The value wasn't what it was that it is today. Like you you just have to have that long-term perspective. You have to be looking out on the horizon on this stuff, or you just miss these opportunities. They feel like they're shitty and they suck right now, but if you flip that switch in your mind, it really is an opportunity. But are you going to take advantage of it or not? That's the question.
What's up, SJ? What is up, Melv? Tony? A lot of familiar faces coming in tonight. Hexacat, what's going on? Yeah, a lot of people in here. It's awesome. Just Huddle, Hedron will make a Rectember a breeze. Well, we're going to talk a lot about Hedron later on. So, yes, Hex 19. How about that Hedron? We have plenty to talk about regarding Hedron. So, coming up, that's why Crypto Sloth is here. So, I'm just going to pump his channel real quick. He's done a lot of great. I was
going to say I'm glad you're here, man, because I've gotten a lot of value out of the things you've put together. So appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's nice to meet you, Big K. I'm sure Motley. I think we've talked at least once or twice before, but it's an honor to be on the stream with you guys. So yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad you found my videos helpful. Yeah, for
sure, dude. I watched your deep dive on the ICOSA stuff and all the opportunities that are there, and I thought it was very well done. You definitely know your shit, man. So appreciate it a bunch.
And he has plenty of fans in the chat as well. Sloth is amazing. Sloth is the man. I thought Sloth was like a mammal or something.
Make me blush.
And we discussed it in the green room too. And I mean, Motley and I have been open about and even Tendies, which I know you had a discussion on another channel, might have been Jim Rats or maybe your channel. It's like, leading up to ICOSA, it's like, okay, well, we have this token. What's the point of all this Hedron? It's like hyperinflating kind of. And now that the system's out there, we can actually kick the tires on it and actually play with it and get in and, just take it for a ride. It's far more clear, and props to a lot of people who were just either didn't sell because they didn't know what they had, or just I know a lot of people just absolutely dumped it and continue to dump it. So but you have actually spelled out, and you and Graphics, unfortunately Graphics couldn't make it tonight, so look, try to get him maybe next week or the week after, but at least we have Sloth here. But you've done a great job at explaining a lot of this stuff, and we have a whole rundown of topics regarding Hedron here in a bit. But yeah, thanks, man. Just wanted to shout you out, man.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. If you got any questions about ICOSA, Hedron, how those systems work, I have a bunch of stuff on my channel, a bunch of clips coming out, and then longer format streams that you can kind of start parsing through. Just to get the basics, and then the Telegram chats, I'm pretty readily available for specific questions if you just ping me. It's exciting stuff, and seeing the price going up amongst all this stuff has been a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, we had a new local high, I think today. I mean, it wicked up there just really quick, but
we're about to touch 4,000, I think.
Yeah,
which is really nice.
I mean, I had a note in for the show notes. It was double top, and that was earlier today, and then of course that kind of just blew right out right before the show. So
no sir, higher high, baby, higher high.
Let's do that higher high. I'm all in.
I'm all about it. I was stoked to be able to get back home in time to make a little move on that little dip there was.
Nice, man.
Awesome.
Nice.
It's
funny. I FOMO'd a little bit after my stream last night, and then I woke up and it was 2,600. I'm like, dang, I did it again. I did FOMO'd again. Here we go. And then
I don't know, man. I mean, this might be some moon boy shit here or whatever. But the more I'm doing the numbers and looking at what is to come in the next 78 days or something or so is very interesting, and I'd love to hear everyone else's perspective, because I've got some numbers that I think it could hit. I think there's some places that it could get to, and they're all pretty cool.
They are, and I have a little rundown. I mean, they're bigger numbers to even think about, just and that's just, you're talking Hedron, right? So I've seen ICOSA numbers, just hypothetically, if Hex hits $1, what could ICOSA be if it were in lockstep or somewhat close? The numbers are wild, so stay tuned for that, everybody, because some of the stuff is crazy, and you might FOMO a little bit. And we have the WAATSA NFTs expiring I guess that
Yep.
phase on, is it Sunday night?
Sunday, yeah, Sunday UTC.
Yeah, Sunday at the rollover. Yeah,
Sunday at the rollover. So we're going to talk about that. People are still coming in here, so I want to at least try to save that most of that value for them. Just other topics, before we get to Hedron, we went over the emergency end stakes. Don't fight the Fed. Richard Hart, I guess he's back over in Europe, but he had a couple interviews right before he left. So last week we were delayed a little bit. He was on, I think, Valuetainment. So I just got a kick out of the Valuetainment guys' eyes being open to the log chart, and it was just like,
oh my god.
It was like being shown the light, and you just saw it in his face, and he was like, "Wow!" He's like, "I never knew." And,
well, that moment really like contextualized. I'm like, "Whoa, that's where like a lot of people are. Like they just like don't know what the log chart is. Like that's the level that they're at in terms of like I don't know crypto stuff because it's pretty like common knowledge. Like just like click the log chart to see what's going on, but to see like their entire like conceptualization of analyzing financial data be completely changed. I'm like, oh, that's where they are. And this is where I am. Like the gap is bigger than I like had thought before I saw that moment. It was really cool to see.
Yeah, and it's also cool to see in my mind is that like those are the wins, those are the easy wins for Richard that get people to start to reshift their perspective on him and projects he's creating. Because like when you give people knowledge like that think that they already know what they're doing, that like it's clear as day. You're like, oh shit, I gotta think some things. I mean, that was me in a nutshell with when I refound Richard. It was like, oh fuck. Like there's a lot of that, so
that's always been like Richard's like biggest asset, or like the thing that everybody likes the most is like the educational component where like he'll say something, like, oh, that's actually how it works, or like, whoa, I like really learned something, and like my view on how things that I'm interested on has changed. And now that, and I'm really glad actually now that in all of the interviews that he's doing, he's kind of taking a step towards that again. All the outrage marketing stuff I think was hilarious. Like showing like my parents him twerking. I'm like, that's where my money is, guys. Like
that's where my life savings are.
Yeah, like, I love that. I love that. But in terms of like what's actually gonna make him a mainstream guy, like it's just that down to earth guy who just teaches you things, and we're seeing more of that, which is really great.
Yeah, I mean that's and he's even said it that like that's the reason why he gets the bigger interviews isn't because of HEX, it's because of the knowledge that he brings, the price calls that he makes. Those are the things that people can't you just can't deny that stuff. You can call a project something you don't like or whatever all you want, but like just it's hard to be like, oh well, he's got it right more than once. So that stuff's awesome. It's good to see that. And like yeah, you're right. The shock stuff is great. But overall, you really want to provide substance behind that, so it's doing a great job.
Shout out to Trayvon, some big name streamers in the chat tonight. So what's up, Trayvon and DCC?
Yeah,
so he says he's got 2 more interviews lined up for Richard. I think he teased that on his last stream. So if you want to check out like just like a cool chat like recap behind the scenes kind of thing of him hanging a little bit with Richard. I mean, he spilled a little tea there. It was entertaining to hear.
I hadn't caught a DCC stream in a while. I made sure to check that one out for sure.
That was pretty cool. So a lot of goings on behind the scenes in Miami and things like that. So had a good time watching that. And DCC, come back on sometime, man. We'll do a stream here sometime soon. Yes, when SNL DCC. So I do love the cutaways though. I need to get me some of those in his streams. We were talking real backstage real quick. I just wanted to bring this up. So I know Vince says that he's used it. I know a lot of Hexkins are used to Uniswap or ETHEX.com, which is the front end. But how about CalSwap, which is gaining popularity? Thoughts on that? Because I've heard nothing but good things. I usually let the God founder endorse something and kind of talk about it fully and review it, but nothing but good from what I've heard. And I think it's like cal.fi. But throwing that one out there.
As much as I love free coins, I also love not paying fees. Yes. Those are 2 of my like serious joys in life. So that's awesome.
I mean, technically you're still paying a fee because it comes out of whatever you trade into. But
it's
a fraction. It's a fraction of what you would pay
in gas.
In ETH.
Oh.
In gas.
What's
Well, I also like
What's up,
even
man?
Matcha has if you're using heavy traded pairs, on 0x, you can do free trades with Matcha now too. So
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously not from our lesser known coins, but
Yeah.
what's going on, man? How you doing?
Good. Sloth, man, you were educating me yesterday, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you were live for that one last night. I appreciate it.
I wasn't live. I watched the
Live?
replay, man. And one thing about like liquidity and all that and being able to read these things, most people don't know how to do it, and it's just nice. It's a breath of fresh air to have a different perspective, and you just learn stuff from the community. It's awesome, man.
100%. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get everything like 100% correct. I got to talk with like Silver the Antidote a little bit and some other people in the background to kind of straighten out my like the details of my understanding. But like what I talked about last night was kind of the general like what is the OA sell wall and like why was us going to the right of it on like the liquidity thing, like why was that so significant? Because essentially, just like long story short, TLDR, the OA, as long as it keeps its liquidity there, is supporting the Hedron price, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and you described it in such a way that made sense, and I like thinking about it as a wall instead of a ceiling, just like you said, and especially when you look at that chart because you got to hop the wall to get to the other side, right? That's what that's all about. Good stuff.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at it as another way to, pad the OA's pockets with HEX that probably won't go anywhere really for a long. I'm all about that. So.
Yeah, I'm fine with
please.
the OA making mad fees.
Yeah.
If anyone's gonna make them, I'm
Might as
cool
well
with
be
that.
the OA. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm down. Let's see. Before
We are
get
all the OA.
Yes, we are all the OA.
We are all the sloth address.
Yes, that is when you think of WAATSA, that's actually what it stands for. If anybody didn't know, we are all the sloth address.
Breaking news here on Happy Hour. So yeah, Rags, you just missed talking about cows and Hexy Bastard shilling his PP. And,
Well, I was curious to see how the cow and PP talk in chat, but now it makes sense.
Yeah. So now that we've gotten all that out of the way for the first 30 minutes, so we can get into, and we have a great audience that keeps building here. I was talking with Sloth in the green room, and I was like, as we have seen a lot of his content, but not everyone has really. So that's why I like to get different streamers and content creators on this channel, because it very likely could have their content shown to new eyeballs and absorbed by brains. So there's a lot of topics about Hedron and ICOSA and this entire system that we can talk about, and maybe on jokingly, not making fun of our viewers, I'm making fun of myself, but kind of explain to us like we're five, in some circumstances, because it does help, and especially it depends upon where you're coming from. Like I grasp it, once you're actually in there in the system and throwing things around and staking and playing with it, just like PulseChain testnet, it doesn't take you long at all to be comfortable with things like this. But some people maybe haven't had time to fool with it, or maybe they feel it's too complicated, which I don't want them to feel like Johnny Chaos has brought that up before. It's like do these things get to a certain point of complication and then it kind of turns people off? So I don't want that to happen, because I think there's huge opportunity here.
I mean, yes, again, complicated things and the opportunity that's there is there because eventually a lot more people will understand them. It's so if you spend the time now to learn the information and are teaching people, then you'll be ahead of the curve and you'll probably be already in a good position when everyone else figures it out. I mean, because there is a lot of analogies to different typical financial tools that we already have that are relatively complex anyways. Bonds and lending platforms and all that kind of shit does take some time to anybody to wrap their head around, so like it's not I mean, finance is not all just super, it's not just an easy math equation. You buy this and go up,
Exactly.
but
But
it's still necessary to be there. It's still super valuable and useful, to have, and it brings more. It's a value add overall to the system. So I mean, some will learn it, some won't. I mean, and that's okay.
Yes,
Yeah, and actually-
C3 works. Car engines are complicated, but people still drive them. I mean, it's a
and
different
mostly
kind of-
can't, and mostly don't understand how they work.
Well, I've been giving some thought to that kind of sentiment today, like about like how the complexity of any system or any kind of product is as like a barrier to entry to adoption, because if people don't understand it, they're not going to use it. And the more I thought about it, I actually don't think that's true. It's not the complexity of the underlying thing that makes it the obstacle. It's the difference between the user interface and the underlying complexity of the system. So the example that C3 works is really great. How many people who drive a car actually understand the mechanics of the car? Not many, but the interface between you and the underlying mechanics of like turn wheel, it moves, push gas, it goes. That's all you actually need to be able to operate something incredibly complex. Same thing with like iPhones, the internet, anything software related. Or
Hey, try to learn to drive a stick.
It was like that with Ethereum initially. Yeah. Like, I mean, I remember when I first bought Ethereum and like trying to interact with contracts and things using Etherscan was fucking hard and it was just not worth my time. And like, I was like, this sucks. I'm out, and like, obviously that was wrong, but like it was also because the tools weren't there. Now the tools are there. There was no MetaMask back then. Wasn't an option,
Yeah, and so really, what is needed isn't less complex things, but it's easier user interfaces to interact with those complex things in a way that's digestible, and then that's really the thing that's important for adoption, right? And I think we'll just use the Hedron and ICOSA example. Like the DApp already is pretty simple and straightforward to use, where you kind of know what's going on, and you don't really need to know anything else besides put coins here, get more coins later. I mean. And we can even look at HEX. HEX is a very complex system. Understanding the T-share rate, understanding how the T-share rate within the context of like a liquidity pool and how the two interact over time. As the T-share rate goes up, the coins become more scarce. Like all of that is like, there's a lot of things to know about that. Yet for a new onboard, all you have to say is like, look, you can just get more of this coin if you lock it up for time. And like, that's all you need to know. And hopefully the price goes up.
Yep. I am glad you brought that up, because like I was going to say the same thing, that like the ICOSA's front end looks fantastic, and definitely like, I mean, there's like if it was going to be everything, then there's obviously some pieces in HEX that HEX's front end that I wish was in there too. But like I understand that like for how it looks and what simplicity you're trying to get across, and what is important to the Hedron and ICOSA system in there, it's fire. It's fire. And like, I mean, if I need to know those other details, I can go look at them. But like in a lot of ways, pretty comfortable with this front end for most things, so like that is serious value add too, because like, I mean, it's a lot easier for me to, like you said, explain to someone else who doesn't get all this stuff. Listen, just go to this site, there's 3 different tabs, you figure out each one of these tabs pretty quickly, and then now you're the one really well already. So then just it's well done.
And Alex is working on a V2 for the ICOSA DApp, so it'll even be upgraded even more, cleaned up.
Yeah, I figured as much, because like right now the clunkiness is going over to Hedron to like see where the liquidations are and that kind of stuff, and and if you're looking to grab the ICOSA contract, like the actual contract, and paste it somewhere, it's like not anywhere like on the website or in the DApp. It's kind of that's like my one like point of agitation. I'm like, now I'm back on Nomics grabbing the contract address or whatever, and Etherscan grabbing it, which is fine. I mean, I get it. We're still like, I mean, we didn't even have how many days, the days and the months and everything on HEX originally. Like I'd be like counting out number, and I'd do it and it'd be wrong. I'd be like, God bless it.
That calendar button was a game changer, huh?
Yeah. I actually asked Alex if he'd add it in Telegram. If you could add a widget to the front end, but I never got an answer, so hopefully he saw that.
Thanks, Crypto Games Club. I am hardwired in now. I got the Starlink shit going here. I'm 100% now. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I feel good.
All right. So before we get to some potential FOMO, because I think there are a few FOMO points, in this discussion that we're about to have regarding Hedron. I guess, just I'd like to hear your take on what is Hedron, Crypto Sloth, because I think you've called it a decentralized credit. So I think explaining that terminology might make some things click for some people. So could you just explain what you mean by that before we get into the fun stuff?
So when I talk about decentralized credit, I'm talking specifically about the HSI and Hedron, not necessarily the Hedron token itself. But I'll take a step back first, just to understand the basics of like Hedron before we get into that concept, because that's a little bit more abstract. But most simply understood, like Hedron and ICOSA are kind of like the T-share derivatives or B-share derivatives in their own unique way. And so just as when you stake your HEX, you earn more HEX every single day, you're also entitled to a certain amount of Hedron every day. And that number is calculated from the number of B shares you have, versus with HEX, like the main denomination is T shares. So every day, just as you get more HEX, you get more Hedron, but the main difference is you're able to mint that Hedron every single day. So what I like to say is, HEX doesn't pay you every day, but Hedron does. HEX you accumulate over time, and then you get one big payout. Hedron, you can slowly drip your rewards every single day. Now with ICOSA, what ICOSA is, you can think of it as like a staking incentivization for Hedron. So you stake your HEX, you get Hedron, and then you can take your Hedron, go to app.icosa.pro, stake the Hedron, and you're going to earn ICOSA. So you get your yield in HEX, you get your yield in Hedron, and then you get your yield in ICOSA, all for doing one HEX stake, which is pretty cool. And then that ICOSA yield, when you get that ICOSA, you can stake that, and then you earn more ICOSA and more Hedron. So both, and if you look at the way that they're calculated, both of them are tied to the T-share rate. So you'll find the T-share rate in the formulas for how much you can mint ICOSA and how much yield you get, or how much you can mint Hedron and how much yield in ICOSA you can get. You'll find the T-share rate in both. That's what's most, like the whole system, like summarized, that's what it is. It's yield on yield on yield, quite literally. Now what Cabana was talking about with the decentralized credit card is essentially the advanced function within the Hedron system. So like I said, you can mint Hedron every single day, but if you want, before you serve those days, you are able to mint all of the Hedron that you would be entitled to if you waited the entire stake. So for an example, a 1 T-share stake for the max length, 15 years, will, at the end of it, you can mint 5,555,000 Hedron at the end of it. If you take an advance the day you make the stake, you'll be able to mint all of that 5.5 million Hedron up front. But because you are leveraging your future earnings and getting that today, there are repayment schedules associated with that every 30 days. So every 30 days, you're going to pay a little bit of that principal and a little bit of a premium on top of it. And that Hedron gets burned, which is important when we go more in depth into ICOSA. But for now, you take your advance and then you pay it every day until at the end of that 15 years, you've paid it all plus a little bit more. Now, the reason why I like to call this a decentralized credit system or a decentralized credit card is because now we have a way of obtaining debt without any middlemen or any kind of counterparty risk. So just as with HEX, you are earning yield, you're compounding your coins over time by just interacting with a smart contract. By interacting with the Hedron contract, you're able to obtain what you would have gotten in the future today. And for everybody here, I know you are like pretty big legacy finance people. You have spent a lot of years, in those markets. Debt and leverage are a huge way people build their portfolio over time. They take debt, use that to get an income generating asset to pay off their debt. And then all of a sudden your assets are accumulating over time, even though at the beginning you only put a fraction of what the things that you own are. But every time you do that, you needed to go to some kind of third party to get that capital. You need to go to a bank, you need to go to a credit lender, you need to a loan shark, whatever it might be. You need somebody to give you the capital in order for you to get that debt. Now with Hedron, we don't have to do that anymore. We can just interact with a smart contract based on the amount of HEX we've staked and the amount of time we've committed to the system, and we can extract value today to do whatever we need to, which I think really complements and is congruent with the ethos of HEX and why it succeeded so well.
Yeah, it's like you're borrowing from your future self, basically.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, would Maddie Allen approve something like that? He likes to save for your future self, not borrow for you.
Well, hey, the code does what the code does.
I joke.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, the way the interactive pieces of it, of having an auction platform so that people, you know, so there is some regulation in it all is awesome. I think it really makes the more I get into it, the more I'm really like, wow, this is very well thought out. It's very impressive.
It is.
Yeah,
pretty darn cool.
Well, I mean,
go ahead.
I'll say this one point. Like, you know, if part of the goal of like crypto, blockchain, etc., is to like recreate financial products just without the middleman involved, you know, that also includes like some kind of debt and leverage system. You know, like people who want to come into crypto and do all the cool things they could do, you know, with legacy finance. Now, if you can do it without the central party or the centralized entity, you know, if you accept the premise that that's better in general, well, then now we have that same product with HEX.
Yeah, I mean, and like if you're somebody who enjoys HEX, then like these are just things that are awesome for it, because like you cannot have Hedron without HEX stakes. You cannot have ICOSA without HSI, you know, stakes. So like it's very well done. I mean, I'm excited to see how the system grows.
Yep. Just a couple of, I guess, basic questions while we're kind of in the introductory phase. I think I saw might have been Crypto King in chat asking if you can mint multiple times on a stake. Heck yeah, man. And if you have a 10x bonus, I've seen this question somewhere else. Do you, like, once you mint on a 10x bonus stake and that stake still goes on, will you still get the 10x bonus? Yes.
Yep.
So
stays for the entire life of the stake.
Yes. So and that's actually very nicely laid out in the new front end as well, because it shows you your kind of like the hex.com with your HEX, big payday HEX. It shows you like your Hedron and then your big payday Hedron or your multiplier in separate columns. So it's really cool to, you know, and really simple to view that way. So that is that on there. What else we talk about? So I guess the next big thing and more time sensitive, kind of just a slight pivot, but we have a rather big event in the Hedron ecosystem occurring a little over 2 days from now. And that's kind of like the expiration of the WAATSA NFT phase. I don't know. There's a lot to talk about here. So there's different strategies. A lot is going on, because if you got in early, then your yield was absolutely incredible. And the yield can change over time because, you know, I guess we compared it a little bit to emergency end staking in the green room. You get, you know, a share of those, not really penalties in this case, but end stakes or end NFTs, end FTs. There you go. Coin a new term. Your end FT. So you get, you know, the rewards from that. I don't know. Sloth, yeah, can you just take us, I guess, through a quick explainer of the WAATSA and anything surprise you about it, or what excites you? Because I mean, we have 2 days left, so if people aren't in, you know, what is it? Something that it's like, man, you know, you really should get one of these things, or a few, or yeah, just take it away.
Yes, we are all the Sloth address NFTs.
Yes,
we are all the Sloth address, and they are a pillar in my portfolio, my friends. So let me tell you what. But
do funds do transactions take like days to approve in the Sloth address?
Yes, but they get there eventually, man.
Okay,
slowly but surely.
All right. There's a lot of material that we could get into, but yeah, sorry, go ahead.
But what's a NFT? So as I was explaining before, you know, you can stake your Hedron and get ICOSA, and you can stake your ICOSA and get both ICOSA and Hedron. But there's also a third pool that outputs ICOSA, and that is the We Are All the Source address pool. Now, in the Hedron ecosystem, there's an address that is like similar to the OA called the SA. It's called the source address. And for that, whenever a stake mints with a launch phase bonus, this address gets a copy of that Hedron sent to it, minted for it automatically. With ICOSA, there is no actual SAOA type entity that owns a large percent of the supply. But what Alex thought would be cool is, well, what if we had the community kind of be that entity that gets like a large amount of coins that like typically don't get sold? And so this is another pool that gets the exact same amount of ICOSA yield every single day as the other two pools, except your proportion of the pool isn't staked ERC20 tokens. It's represented by a specific NFT. And so for those of you that know about the adoption amplifier, it's the exact same kind of system. It's like a mix between adoption amplifier and sacrifice phase. So you send a certain amount of coins to this address. I believe it's the Hedron deployer address. And then you get a certain number of points associated with a time-weighted average of the cost of those tokens. And then that gives you a certain number of points. And those points are then associated with the NFT that's minted and put into your wallet. Now, just like the points in the ICOSA and Hedron pool, and just like shares in the HEX system, each point is entitled to an equal distribution of the daily payout rewards. So the more points you have, the more rewards you'll get in this pool. But the thing that's different about the WAATSA pool versus the other pools, not just that your ownership is represented by an NFT, but if you ever wanted to redeem your yield in this pool, you have to actually burn the NFT. So in order to realize the yield that you've accumulated over time, you have to forfeit your yield going into the future. And what that does is it inflates everybody else in that pool. So because there are less points that exist, and this is important, on Sunday, the ability to enter this pool ends. So at Sunday, 000 UTC time, nobody is able to mint any of these NFTs ever again forever. So whenever somebody redeems their yield, forfeiting their NFT and their points, everybody else's points is a larger slice of the pie that is the yield that's getting distributed. So in the ICOSA and Hedron pools, people can continuously add principal to their stake to increase their points, to increase their yield, which means, yes, use the app. Don't send.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. Don't send funds directly to the contract.
I think the way I said it might have applied that. Go to the ICOSA app and click the mint button. Don't send it to the contract. Thank you, Blue.
Yeah.
Where was I going with that? So just with the Hedron and the ICOSA pools, people can add principal to their stakes, which means that they can inflate their relative position to everybody else. But that means people are deflating or getting diluted over time. Because the WAATSA pool is capped after Sunday, you can never, ever be diluted. But obviously the catch is what I just described. If you ever want to realize your gains, you want to realize your yield, you have to forfeit your yield going into the future.
Slight caveat with that. It is an NFT. You can sell the NFT itself.
Exactly.
Yes.
On OpenSea.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So when if you were to sell the NFT, you wouldn't burn it, so you wouldn't be helping other people. Like they would continue to get the same amount of yield, but effectively it kind of ends up being the same thing because you no longer own the yield going on into the future. The person who buys it does. So it's like you have to give up the yield, whether it be through the NFT or burning the NFT, to ever realize the ICOSA that you accumulate in this pool. And that's why I kind of like to call it the Schrodinger's cat of yield. You know, you both own it and don't at the exact same time. It both exists and doesn't exist all at the same time. But yeah, that's the overview of the WAATSA pool, the WAATSA NFT pool. And people are really excited about it because they're like, they kind of see the potential of the whole system. And then this is like, you know, if you believe in the system and you want to make a super long-term bet, like express your commitment to the system and benefit from it long-term, this is the way to do it. One big caveat is that you lose your principal when you participate. So your yield has to output the same amount that you put in to break even versus HEX, Hedron, and ICOSA staking, your principal is forever intact in ICOSA, Hedron, and HEX terms. So do know that, you know, you are losing your principal when you participate in this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like the risk, like the benefits to it, you know, because like in general, like I said, the thing that really intrigues me is, you know, you're like part of what is awesome about T-share rate in HEX is that when you're in general, when I've joined pools of any kind, you know, it's a competition. It's a lot. It's actually like people don't realize that when they stake their coins and they lock them up, they're actually competing with future participants in the system that are going to add in more and dilute them out over time. You know, they don't necessarily, most people don't like take that stuff into account unless you maybe mined crypto or something and you kind of get all that kind of stuff but and that's, you know, somewhat of a detractor if you don't want to continue to, you know, input into the system long term. So having a way to, like with share rate, you know that over time, within 7-8 years or so, no one is going to be able to restake for longer to get more T-shares. That's like going to be, you know, and so like in a similar way, there is a deflationary nature to this WAATSA, you know, NFT pool system, which I really like. I like that. That's like what, you know, has interested me about it the most. I think it's just like we all had a first year in HEX to get a big bonus for being early with a big payday. You've got a much shorter window here. But still a worthwhile window.
About 50 hours worth of window, if my calculations are correct. So,
is there going to be some type of front end that takes a look and sees how many are left after that 14-day period?
It counts down on the front end, right?
Yeah,
it'll tell you. It says right on. I think right now
there's
like
16,000.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think that number is like total number of NFTs will be updated as people burn them.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. But that'll be cool. It'll be like, kind of like a emergency end stake news. It was like, oh, this big WAATSA NFT just nuked itself. We all get X amount more points and more payout. Like it'll be a fun thing to watch. Like speaking to the stickiness of the system.
I think somebody was asking a question if there was going to be a WAATSA burn bot that to let us know. Crypto King was asking it. Which I mean, like I would imagine if this has value, then somebody's going to do that shit for sure.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
One of the cool things about WAATSA for me, one of the motivators to get involved is like when I was in sales, I didn't even really care. I know this sounds crazy. I didn't care as much about how much money I was making as I did being number one on the leaderboard. Like I really worked towards that. So the WAATSA thing for me is like a competition, man. Like I want to be the last dude standing. Now I know I'm not because some dumbasses are going to forget their C words. That literally will be the definition of eternity. I'll be waiting forever. But at the same time,
we're on our deathbeds, and some guy still got that one that he forgot. And be like, "Damn it, I would." You beat me.
Diamond hands.
Hey, at least they can't hurt the ICOSA price.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. What do you think is going to happen at ICOSA when that comes on? When that stops, what do you guys think is going to happen there?
What stops?
When people aren't able to participate in WAATSA.
To mint any new WAATSAs?
I think like the early going, like we might have mentioned it on stream here at the very beginning, but if markets, if we're in for another leg down in this bear, some people, might be forced out maybe at a loss to try to recover.
There's already people that have burned. There's already people that have turned in ones they've minted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, just like emergency unstakes and like the sheer perplexing nature of people doing the dumbest things that they can, you're gonna see it. You're gonna see it. Yep. People are like, "Ooh, these are buttons I click, 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 click." Oh shit! You can't stop people.
Okay, wait. In before questions like, can I compound my? I try to compound my WAATSA ICOSA yield, but I can't find my NFT anymore. What happened? I start getting those in the Telegram.
I would like to contact the "We Are All the Sloth" address to address this matter. Can I speak to the manager? Yeah.
You have to book a one-on-one for me to help you on that.
Ah, yes.
There you go.
So,
I mean, feel free to shill that real quick, Sloth, because I know this is kind of complicated for some, or some just don't have the time to do it, but it is valuable information to have. So you are doing some consultations, right? So if you're helping, people with something that benefits HEX, go ahead and, shill what you're doing really quick.
Yeah, so I just basically opened up some of my calendar to people who want to have a more one-on-one personal educational experience going through the ICOSA Hedron system, crypto in general, HEX, liquidity providing, yield generation in crypto, like really anything that I can kind of help with. If you want that personal one-on-one experience, I do offer that service. And so the way to take advantage of that is just to DM me on Twitter. I'm very fortunate and proud to announce, I was offering a sale for the first 10 consultations that booked. They got 50% off. All of those have been sold and have been booked. So that's been really awesome to see. I appreciate everybody's support on that. But because that deal is over, the price now is $400 an hour. So if that is something that you can afford and that you feel will be valuable to you, please reach out to me on Twitter. Typical disclaimer, not financial advice. I'm just a dental student. I'm not a financial guy. I just understand one thing kind of well, and I can help you understand it a little bit better. Also, anything that I talk about in my consultations, 80-90% of it is going to be on my channel, either now or in the future. So please don't feel like you need to buying my time. Everything that you need is going to be on my channel, absolutely free. This is just for those that want to, increase the time, like decrease the time it takes to learn, or want to like have a sounding board for strategy, anything like that. So yeah, hit me up on Twitter if that's interesting to you, and I will get you scheduled out.
Yeah, I mean,
I got a big one with the big man Vince coming up. You gotta pay.
Nice. I don't want to speak for everybody, but like watching your channel, if you do put enough hours in, you can gain that knowledge. But like you said, it's like how much do you value your time? If you don't have time to watch hours and hours and hours of content, why not do an hour and get all your questions answered right in one shot? Anybody know this question? This is an interesting question. What's the largest NFT that's in there? Like multiple billions or 100 billion Hedron? Is there a place to look that up?
I saw I think there was one that I saw that was in there that was a 6-figure amount, but I might.
Oh wow!
Okay. You could just go to OpenSea and filter and sort by largest, I think, because it lists like whether the NFTs are for sale or not. It lists all of them, so yeah, should be able to find it pretty quickly.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean it's a depending on how big of a whale you are out there, like some people don't want to sit and click a button a million times.
Yeah.
Oh, one more thing on the WAATSA NFT that I think is relevant to the decentralized credit that we were talking about. But like my long-term vision for these WAATSA NFTs are essentially supreme collateral to borrow against in the future. So like, most wealthy people, they don't sell their assets. They use them as collateral and borrow against them in order to fund their day-to-day lives or whatever endeavor they want to do next. Well, I can't think of a better asset to use as collateral to be able to get immediate liquidity than a decentralized passive trustless income generating asset that 100% is going to have more in it tomorrow than the day before. Now the amount isn't guaranteed, but that tomorrow is going to be worth more than it is today. So that seems like a really great thing to be able to use as collateral for loans and stuff like that.
So
that's my long-term vision.
I want to ask a question to you guys real quick, because this was going through my head yesterday and I kind of opened it up to Twitter, and the question that I opened up, I said, why or why not create a native HEX stake over an HSI with Hedron? Thoughts of the community in comments below. So here's a couple comments I got. They said the only disadvantage is the HSIs won't show up on Staker app, and also counterparty risk was also that something popped up too. What do you guys think? Like, why would you create a native HEX stake? Why or why not?
I mean, so there's a few different. I've thought about this a bunch myself. I mean, I don't know if I have I have a couple answers for it. One, yeah, you have some sort of reason why you don't want to, you worry on smart contract risk. I don't think that that's an issue, but I can see some people. I mean, more surface area is potentially there. The other reason that I was. Oh man, I lost my train of thought. I had a really good one for this one, so somebody else can go. Give me a second for me to pull.
Vince had a good tweet thread.
Oh yeah, I put together a quote tweet thread on that, but I kind of wanted to go back on that because actually the not showing up on Staker thing is actually not a con, because you can actually go to the old the Hedron.pro app, and then you can when you go to hit the stake info, you can actually see the specific ETH address that that stake is encapsulated in, and then you can just add that to Staker app, and then it'll show up. So, yeah.
So yes, that's right. I remember somebody else saying that you could do that too. The other thing is that an HSI stake does, in like the bull run time when things were like really expensive, it was like, I would say 2 to 3x the price of a non-encapsulated stake to do. So it does cost more because of the extra computation that you have to go through. Yeah. Which, I mean, if you have like a big problem with that and are doing, I could understand some people, at really high gas fee times. Now we're not in those days right now, so it's not as much of an issue.
Won't matter for PulseChain, baby.
Exactly.
One of the other things that people were making the point of, I had some people reach out to me actually directly, they're making the point that Hedron ultimately dilutes Hex in a way. I'm sure you guys might have seen that just in different places. What are your thoughts on that? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I mean, the thing that's interesting is that it's like they're like I said, because of the fact that like you can whoever's buying Hedron on the open market is buying what is a derivative of a hex stake. Like you had to have staked a hex, had staked hex for that Hedron to even exist, you know. And I agree early on, like that was like if you didn't know of ICOSA's like that whole side of the system, then like you for sure you'd be like, well, this is just gonna. You might think that it might water down, but like because there's going to be a lot of Hedron burned through auctions, there's going to be a lot of because of the relationship with with ICOSA and Hex being able to burn those stakes to create ICOSA, and that basically stability that there is there. I feel like it's not nearly as much of a sink than people are thinking it is. In fact, like over time, I mean, like I'm really wary about some of the loans because like the idea of that, because if you took out a loan on a Hedron stake now and we're going to do a nice, like before these 70 days are up, like we're gonna have a big pile of Hedron sitting there already too, because that's could be tricky, So like I think that there's a lot of price positive action that can happen, and like then you've got the situation where people are going to need to continue to stake more hex to be able to get the Hedron to possibly pay off these notes or buy liquidated stakes. So like I mean yes and no, like I if people were just straight up buying Hedron and that was all, like everyone just went in that direction, I could see it like suppressing the pump kind of idea, but like I don't, but like because there's all these other relationships that like as time continues to play out, that these things have to keep being played out too, that like it's not as simple as just like, oh, we're all buying Hedron now. It's not, that doesn't make sense. Like you can't, because like as Hedron gets burnt, like I mean somebody's going to want to create more of it by staking more hex. I mean,
yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head, Big K. And the way I've kind of conceptualized it is that it's like superficially true, but fundamentally untrue. At least for this specific system and the way it interfaces with hex, because the first reason is there's like a delta between the opportunity and like Hedron and ICOSA versus like where Hex is, because like they have these price ceilings. Now ICOSA is currently at its price ceiling, but Hedron I think is like a 16 or so X away from its price ceiling. And so that's like a 16X of opportunity of where it could potentially be relative to where the current price is now. And so yes, going into Hedron that aren't going. But then you also kind of have to ask yourself is, would these funds have gone into Hex anyway if that asymmetrical opportunity wasn't there? Like, would people have been deploying that capital in that way, or would have they stayed in cash on the side, or what? We don't actually know. But another thing is when these price ceilings are hit, what happens is that people are then incentivized, like Big K was saying, to then stake Hex for 15 years. And so all of the different arbitrage opportunities that are available in ICOSA and Hedron, I won't go into the specifics of it. You go to my channel for the details. But the way you take advantage of them is by staking Hex for the max length. Now that is not a finite, but like that is a definitive action. Like you can't take that back. So every time somebody wants to take advantage of these opportunities around the price ceiling, they do an event that is irreversible, that makes Hex more pumpable, and is actually the thing that we're going for Hex in the first place. Like the whole point of what this whole system is to get as much Hex locked up for 15 years as possible. And Hedron and ICOSA incentivize that. So let's take a look at the amount of T-shares that are in the liquidation auction right now. It's about 39,000 T-shares, I think currently, probably 40,000 now, before I last checked. That, and most of those, if you go on HSI Watch and you put the ICOSA contract in, they're 5555s. Yep. So like while these stakes may be cycling through the ICOSA Hedron system, like in the auctions, minting ICOSA, taking advances, that Hex is locked up. It's gone. It is no longer sell pressure that can ever enter the system. So while the liquidity pools may be receiving more USDC, in the immediate term. Long term, what these things have done is essentially added kindling to the fire that HEX is building in this bear market for the next launch up in the future. So I don't think at all that it's like diverting attention or diverting economic mass. It's actually the complete opposite. It's making HEX more pumpable, and it's going to make it pump harder when we do start to see that turnaround.
Yeah, there's a very important thing. I don't even know if we touched on yet, actually, that's like about that. Why that is because like in HEX, you know, your bonus maxes out at 10 years, right? You know, people do 5, 5, 5, 5, 6, but your bonus max is out there. But when you make an HSI, you know, stake for 15 for the full max length, you get extra bonus in if you sell the stake to the ICOSA contract. And do you get extra bonus in Hedron? I'm not sure if you do or not, but I know you get the extra 10% bonus if you sell the HSI stake back to the ICOSA project. So like there's an arbitrage opportunity just in that for people to make sure that they're, you know, if you want the extra value there, you're going to have to have those 15-year stakes.
Yeah. The bonus in Hedron is that you have more days to mint against. So if you want to get more up front, but there is no like added bonus like you get with ICOSA.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that we're going to see more derivative play projects on other yield bearing assets? Do you think we're going to see those pop up a lot, or do you think we're pretty far ahead of crypto at large? What do you guys think about that?
I mean, even if we're ahead of crypto at large, I think that things move fast around here. So like, I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, people pick up on Richard's, you know, pumpamentals and all the different words that he's created. I mean, it's just as quick as they pick up on his ideas and we start seeing all these staking tokens with locking features and shit in them as well, you know. So like, I don't think that there won't, like, for sure. I think that if it's a value add and in crypto everything is, you know, relatively copyable, you know, then like other people are for sure going to use what's been built. I mean, which at the end of the day, you know, is just, you know, I think beneficial overall. Like, I mean, you know, the original is, you know, still going to have the first mover advantage and, you know, a better engine running underneath it, you know? So
agreed.
Yep. Where was I? We have a bunch of questions in chat, and I forgot to even, you know, say, hey, post your questions in chat, but it didn't have to because we're getting plenty of questions. So I'm gonna read some that I saved, and you know, like I said, feel free to post questions, and I'll just throw them to Sloth if you can handle them. Question for Sloth: when you pay back the Hedron for the HSI, will you only pay exactly what you took out, or will you end up paying more Hedron than you initially collected?
The latter. You will pay more than you initially collected. And I think if you run the math on that, it's dependent on the HEX global payout. So if it's like 38% APY, it gets like cut in half. And then like there's a whole formula. Actually, in my Hedron 101 video, I go through all those numbers in depth, but there is a premium that's added on top of it. So what that means is these advances are technically net deflationary because you mint like 1x unit of the coins, but you pay back like 1.01 amount of the coin X units of Hedron back in the system. And then but it's over time, so like you don't pay it up all at once. It's like however your premium, the total amount of premium you have to pay is calculated, and then it's divided equally into each 30-day payment that you have. And it ends up being, it's only like at the end of the 15 years, you've only paid back like an extra like 1 to 2% as like a super low interest loan throughout the entire thing. But when that Hedron's burned, we get more ICOSA yield, so that's pretty cool too.
and you deflate the supply of Hedron, and you know, it just makes it more pumpable.
Let's see what else here. Catching up. Hexagon 720 is catching up at 1.7x5. Have we talked about the WAATSA war chest speculation from Silver the Antidotes video the other day? Sloth, any comments on that one?
Oh man, that one opened my eyes a little bit too. I haven't spent as much of my time thinking about like potential actions of the SA and the and like what they could do, or the SA or like the Hedron deployer contract. I'm just going to assume they're all one entity. I'm just going to call it the SA just for simplicity. But Silver like really opened my eyes, specifically with the maxi play. I'll walk through the whole thing and I'll save that one for the last because I like that one a lot.
There's a lot there too. Let me just preface that because you may want to watch the video for context, but I'm sure Sloth is going to try to break it down here. But it was very interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep, I'll give a very quick TLDR of it that hopefully is comprehensible. So when we're looking at an entity like an OA or the SA, the purpose of this kind of entity is to protect the system as a whole. Now, when we at least accept that premise that they are a benevolent force for the entire system, you can then kind of deduce certain actions that, at least from our perspective, look to be beneficial. Now we know like the OA has done thing that looks kind of weird at first, but then over time has been like, oh, that was really smart. But at least we can make a probabilistic assumption or make some kind of like grounded speculation on what these addresses can do with those coins if we accept the premise that they're benevolent actors. Now for the Hedron and ICOSA system, the main thing that helps the system as a whole is getting more HSIs on the liquidation market. That specific endpoint of HSIs on the liquidation market burns Hedron, which increases the ICOSA yield and gets HEX on the market, off the market for 15 years. So it's that single thing does everything to lift the whole system up. So if we were to think of something that an SA entity could do to help HEX, Hedron, and ICOSA, it's this specific thing. Now the WAATSA NFTs, because it's an adoption amplifier kind of thing where you give up tokens to get the NFT, it has this huge backlog of tokens, USDC, ETH, Hedron, and Maxi. These are kind of the main ones that it owns that it can use to support the system in any way that it sees fit. Now because it has all of these things, we can make an assumption that maybe it'll stake some of that HEX and just exchange it for ICOSA to put it on the liquidation market. Maybe use the USDC or ETH, buy HEX, and then do that same thing. And it can kind of act like as the Fed a little bit in that regards, where it can slowly drip out HSIs to either continue to bootstrap the yield in ICOSA, continue to get Hedron burn, or like if there's a down period, maybe uplift the system, or if it wants to add a little fuel on top of like an already raging fire, it can do that as well. Or it can just keep a constant stream of yield over time, over and over and over. Maybe every quarter, every 6 months, it's like, hey, look, there's a big day coming out. You might want to have your Hedron and ICOSA staked or have some liquid Hedron ready to bid because a lot of T-shares are coming out. And the cool thing about this is it doesn't really matter where the HSIs come from because the fundamental value of HEX is independent of who owns it. It's just its own little like entity of value. So the fact that it comes from the SA doesn't actually matter. Now, the Maxi is super interesting. And the reason why it's very interesting is because even though now it's kind of like, I don't want to say a vacuous token because that kind of like has a negative connotation, but its redeemability doesn't exist yet. It only exists in 15 years. Now, why that's important is because there's a specific concern that I've seen a lot. And it's like, well, what happens in 15 years when the T-share rate is so high and like Hedron is really expensive and like we're not getting much burning, we're not getting much yield. Like, is this a potential breaking point for the whole system in 15 years? Well, with this large amount of Maxi that the SA owns, and it's the #1 Maxi holder of the entire system, it's going to have a buttload of HEX and Hedron coming out at that 15-year time point. So it essentially gets a big second wind, a big wave of energy entering the war chest to continue to dole out yield in a responsible manner to allow the system to continue to be productive and it's keeping the wheels greased at that 15-year point. It gets all of that principal, all of the crazy amount of HEX yield that it's going to generate, and all of the Hedron that it's entitled to as well.
Boom. That's a
there it is. I hope that made sense. I went on a couple little tangents, but I think
all good.
Basically
that was great.
We love tangents here. Shit. All right. Hex Pat in Brazil asks, for the ICOSA staking pool, is the bonus reflected in the accrued coins shown for your wallet? If not, are those received when you exit the pool?
Yes, you get your rewards for when you exit the pool. In either situation, you won't whether it's the regular ICOSA pool or the WAATSA, you won't actually get any ICOSA until you unstake.
Yeah, just like a HEX stake.
The golden ticket holder Perhaps they want to board the golden yacht of John Wick one day. Will the WAATSA NFT show up in MetaMask on the ETH mainnet?
In your like NFTs section, I believe it should. You should be able to see it there.
I think they're trying to improve the desktop for NFTs.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think it shows up on desktop, but
no, yeah.
Okay.
It'll show up on Etherscan.
Oh yeah.
Etherscan.
Yeah, and OpenSea too.
Yeah, but they're I guess specifically asking MetaMask.
MetaMask, yeah.
More chat. All right, I think we are close to caught up. Briz was just chiming in. We were talking earlier about what the biggest WAATSAs are.
So 25K. Okay, it's not as high as I thought.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought
So a lot.
Yeah,
it's still. I mean, like it's actually
there.
cooler because, like, to know that the highest is 25K and that's a lot of people and or NFTs that have been made, you know, of small amounts. I mean, that's pretty awesome. I mean,
Mudhog says he listens to Sloth at a sloth pace of 0.75 to take it all in. No
Mudhog.
lie. All right.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. You, on the opposite end of the spectrum, try listening to dollar cost at 1.5. That's fun. Sheesh. All right.
Or 2 if you're adventurous.
That's what I listen to him at 2. It's great. I listen to everything.
Oh man, I can't. No, that's 1.25 is usually my max for a lot of these guys. Just because I at least like the retention level. 1.5, I'm like, trying to catch up. Get Hex says, I see mine in MetaMask. I'm betting you're on mobile because I don't think you can do that on desktop. Hex Huddle macro is about to dump into oblivion. Well, maybe, or maybe we just go down and like test the lows one more time. We'll see.
Apparently, Hedron didn't get the memo.
That's right.
It's doing its own. It's doing its own thing.
Let's see that own thing right now, real quick. So, yeah, we're kind of like trying to bust through that funny little double top thing I referenced, or I was looking at earlier, but we're trying to push on through that, and I think we will. What else do we have?
I'll give you the OA sell wall thing too. That could be good.
Yeah, we had another one. I think I lost that question though, so apologies who asked that. But yeah, there's an OA sell wall question earlier. What else we got? Yeah. Props to you people who are doing DCC at 1.5. I mean, my man talks. He spits fire and fast, and I can do maybe 1.25, but that's about it. What else here? We had somebody ask earlier, and I can't find it. Hedron price target. Well, let's not just talk target because that's just wild speculation. But I think you and maybe graphics had kind of like an arbitrage-ish kind of comment on, or maybe it was someone else, forgive me if it was, but where the versus the hex price, where Hedron's kind of fair value, if you will, could be right now, and maybe how quickly you arrived at that number as well.
Yeah. So I personally have actually started to walk away from the verbiage of fair value because that's a little subjective.
Yeah,
I'm starting to move towards to ceiling price because that's essentially where
I like
the cap of the Hedron and ICOSA price relative to wherever Hex is at now. So as Hex moves up or down, the ceiling moves, but it always exists at the same place relative to Hex, and then slowly moves as the T-share rate goes up. So for I'll explain like the conceptually what these numbers are. So if the Hedron price ever reached this ceiling value, and I'll just tell you what it is right now. I have it up. I believe it is 4 zeros and a 6. 4 zeros and a 6 is where it's at right now. And so if Hedron were ever to reach this price, what that would mean is that if you made a Quattro Cinco stake, say it's $1,000. So you made a $1,000 Quattro Cinco stake, you would be able to borrow $1,000 worth of Hedron up front. So like you could make a stake and then immediately get $1,000 right back, almost like a free hex stake. You have your payments to make, but that is a possibility. Now, if it ever went above that price, What that means is you can then take your dollars, buy HEX, let's say $1,000 worth of HEX, stake it, and then if it's higher, maybe you could take an advance on Hedron that's worth $1,200. So you just turned $1,000 into $1,200 immediately. So then you sell the Hedron and boom, you made like an arbitrage type action where you immediately profit $200. And so what that does is it brings the Hedron price down. It brings it back down to the ceiling because of people are selling it. But also what it does is if people are taking advantage of this opportunity, it's locking HEX up for 15 years, which, as I said before, is a permanent event that can only happen once and is never nullified. So anytime anybody takes advantage of, like, say, the price ceiling, or any times it goes above the price ceiling, HEX gets locked up for 15 years. Well, what does that do? Theoretically, it helps the HEX price go higher. Well, what does that do? It pushes the ceiling up. So Hedron in the short term goes down, but allows the HEX price to run a little bit by getting the HEX locked up for 15 years, which then brings that ceiling up and it gives room for Hedron to then make higher highs in the USD price. And so everybody's kind of looking at this price as like, oh, this is like where Hedron could potentially go. And it also represents, I'll stop there. That's what the ceiling price is. And ICOSA has the exact same mechanism with it, except for instead of advancing, it's selling your HSI. So it more directly gets HSIs on the liquidation market. Like theoretically, what you could do for the Hedron advances is like you get that $1,200, buy $1,000 worth of Hedron, immediately pay back your advance, and then you have $200 plus your HEX stake still. So it's a free HEX stake. Now it still pumps the HEX price because HEX is being locked up for 15 years, but less of those stakes are going to get on the liquidation auction, which means less Hedron will be burnt through that mechanism. Although it is possible. Maybe people are just taking money that they didn't want to stake for 15 years in the first place, and they're just getting that delta off the top and then letting it be liquidated. Then Hedron gets burned. ICOSA, all of those stakes that take advantage of that opportunity in ICOSA are going to get liquidated, which means Hedron burned, which means Hedron price go up, which means HEX locked up for 15 years, which means HEX price go up, and which means ICOSA yield goes up, which means more incentive to lock up Hedron, more incentive to lock up ICOSA. So then everything's just going up, baby.
I like it. Feedback loop.
Yep. Price go up.
Price go up. That's
on all of the things. Let's
the moral of the story.
All of the things.
All of the things. What else do we have? I got questions in my notes. I got questions in the chat here. Let me see. I've gone through most of these. Here's one I've seen. Okay, so we have 50-ish hours, less than 50 hours till the WAATSA NFT phase is over and done forever. Is there a preferred asset at this point that someone, should I sacrifice? So I see people be like, should I sacrifice like USDC, or is there an advantage to sacrificing my Maxi? How about my Hedron kind of thing? So any thoughts on that one?
Go ahead, BK.
Same.
I mean, it's just
TWAP.
It's a preference on not only what the prices are at right now, but also what you think maybe the macro is going to look like in the near future.
So
in that case, I might not. If you have stable stuff, that might be reasonable. I don't know. Like I was saying, I mean, when we're looking at the chart right now, Hedron price, I don't know if I want to sacrifice that.
That's right. That's what I was about to say. I
don't know if I want to sacrifice.
You want to let go of that one?
Yeah. I don't think so.
On the edge of a breakout?
Yeah, that's but at the same time, you're also getting a pretty decent TWAP for it right now too. So I see both sides, but I don't know if like I said, I'd like to see, I want to see some of this, the next 60, 70 days play out. That's what I'd like to see. Whereas it's there's Ethereum, you can wrap Ethereum. Those are also good options too, if you have them. I mean, but if I had to pick between, I guess, it's tough to say this one, but if I had to pick between HEX and Hedron and sacrificing right now, I'd probably sacrifice some HEX.
Blasphemous, BK. How could you say that? Oh my God.
I know it feels blasphemous.
You get ostracized, dude.
It feels blasphemous. But here's the thing, though, is that also there's a good chance that HEX is off the market then for the foreseeable future as well. So there's it's all good. It's all good, man. It's all good. But I would recommend, no, not financial advice, but hey, play around with those, make those NFTs, man. It's actually one of the cooler. Like I was explaining this to somebody when I was trying to explain this to a couple on boards. They're like this because in the past I've been like, yeah, fuck NFTs, you know. But
yeah,
this changes the game.
But there's a reason, and it's a very easy understanding of like when you're creating an NFT, you're wrapping up something with inside of it that has some that you believe has some sort of value, you know. And so it's like at an early point in time, people think that, you know, slightly different monkey pictures have value than, or the same exact rock picture has value, then you know that's what they wrapped up. I mean, not as much as they were, but like if your NFT is stuffed full of a store of value like HEX, then you know that's a pretty solid move, and you understand why it has to be an NFT. I mean, it's of a unique time when you staked it and a unique amount when you staked it, and like you know all those things are unique in their own principles. So like it's like I get it. This is a real actual use case for them that like I can get behind. Sick. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
C3 works. Will platforms like OpenSea make a meaningful difference for liquidity of HSIs, given that the ICOSA contract is always available to purchase them? Something to ponder.
Let me think. So, okay, so yeah, this is it. So there's a nice distinction between trying to sell on OpenSea versus selling to the ICOSA contract, and that has to do with like what kind of deal that you're going to get. So like with ICOSA, if we're assuming that it's holding that its ceiling price, then what you're able to do is you're able to get the money that it would take to make that exact same stake now. Now that's important because it's not, ICOSA does not take into account the yield you have accumulated. It only takes into account the shares that you have. And so it only takes into account the price it would take to get that exact same stake now. Now that's important when a lot of stakes become unobtainably expensive for people to buy on OpenSea. That's very important. But if you are selling your HSI, and this is something I haven't said before, but it's good to know. If you're selling your HSI for ICOSA, just know you are forfeiting the profit of your yield because it's not calculated in that formula at all. If you're selling on OpenSea, you are able to leverage the yield that is within your HSI and demand more money because you know it's accumulated that, because it's a one-for-one thing. Yeah. But what you're giving up is liquidity because you need somebody, you need a direct buyer on the other side of your sell to do it. With ICOSA, it's like this. So people who need to get out of their HEX stake because for whatever reason they just need money, ICOSA is going to be the way to do it. The other way, if you're just like, you know what, I don't want to wait anymore, but I want to try to extract as much value as much as I can and I have a longer time frame, a NFT marketplace is going to be the place where you do that.
So the way I think about that now, that's super interesting that I'm thinking about it because like, so the incentive to use the ICOSA contract to sell your HSI back to it does kind of wane the longer the stake is open. So like after 7.5, like if you do a 15-year stake, after 7.5 years, you're going to, if you emergency unstaked, you'd get your principal and some interest back, So like in that regard, like for the first 7.5 years of these stakes, it could be very profitable and useful to use it. But in the later part, you better need that liquidity. It's going to sting a little more. It's going to sting.
Or I mean, worst case, you still have three months from then to come up with enough Hedron to try to win it back.
Fair enough. Good. This system is nifty.
Hey, you guys want
NFT without the vowels or nifty?
Hey, Cabana, you want a little special sneak peek into the stream that I've been prepping a little bit? I've been
give me the sauce, bro.
Kind of trying to outline a potential scenario that ICOSA and Hedron offer to the HEX system, and that is the potential to never actually need to sell HEX on the market ever again.
What?
Yeah,
You're talking like liquid loans and PulseChain talk over here.
Maybe. I guess it's the same verbiage. Maybe it's the same thing.
Never sell your pulse.
But what I'm talking about is Hedron and ICOSA being sufficient to absorb all of this, if not most of the HEX sell pressure. And I'll explain why, because both of them are able to do it in different ways.
You were talking fantasy talk, sir. Please explain.
So, and this is all speculative. Like, this is a potential.
That's what we like to do on this show, though. So.
But it's fun to think about.
That's
right. So the general overview, and I'll go into the nitty gritty on this when I get my slide deck in order. But Hedron, if the price is high enough, maybe you could just sell that Hedron, and that's all you need to service whatever you need to in your real life. So then you sold all of that, and then you just have your HEX sitting there, and you can restake that again. So that's one option. Now that's a good option, but maybe you want more than what the Hedron offers. Well, if the ICOSA price tracks its ceiling value, that means that you can get the same amount of ICOSA dollar value wise that it would cost to make a stake. So instead of selling the interest of your stake, you take your principal or whatever you want and like continue to like maintain your ladder, but there's a certain part that is always being sold because that's the point. Like it's passive income, you're making money. Well, if you can get the same dollar value by staking this thing 5555 through ICOSA, by staking it 5555, selling it, getting ICOSA, and because that ceiling value has the potential to stay at the same value that HEX is, now instead of hurting the bags that you just punted out to the end of your ladder, you can hurt the ICOSA price, which has mechanisms to kind of help it equilibrate again. And instead of any of that HEX hitting the market, you just exit via ICOSA, and now everything stays like for 15 years. There you go. There's a sneak peek, the appetizer.
I like it. I mean, that's one of those things when you have the derivative of HEX price in, with something like ICOSA tracking it is pretty slick. It definitely, I mean, like that's like if the liquidity is deep enough, then like that is a super awesome, that's really unique, and like, I mean, and I thought about it. I didn't think about it from that perspective, but I thought about it initially from the yield generating perspective. Is that like, that's why having these WAATSAs are a good idea. Is that to me, it's like a derivative HEX it's another generating, thing that can generate a similar value of HEX. I mean, they could swap my ICOSA for HEX at an almost flat line, for a while now. So like, it's pretty awesome. I mean, I really, like I said, and it's
deflationary after Sunday.
So. Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. But yeah, you bring up a good point. The liquidity has to be thick enough to be able to absorb that sell pressure. Like that is a necessary condition. And I will try to argue that the incentives of the system make it so that people are motivated or incentivized to yield on that ICOSA HEX.
Yeah, if the system stays, keeps the balance like that, like it has, then you'd imagine that people it's the liquidity provider's dream to be able to have something that will just bounce back and forth.
Exactly.
Those are great. So yeah, love it.
There you go.
Speaking of LPs, just a shout out to Blue Bum. Was I think 10 days ago dropped a bit of alpha on the HEX Late Show and watched his monopoly on whatever liquidity pool evaporate because he just spilled a little too much tea on that. So good job, Bluey, because you nailed it there for a while. So. But yeah, he and Tangent had a good laugh about that on the HEX Late Show stream this past Tuesday. Simba369, can Hedron, this is just a fun speculation question, can Hedron ever reach the market cap of HEX? We kind of just touched on that, but I mean, HEX market cap now, could Hedron get there? Absolutely could, but I don't know if if HEX tracks.
I don't think it could ever overtake
it could never, but current
whenever,
market cap, sure.
Yeah.
Because whenever it pushes up towards it, like it'll push HEX with it.
Yeah, they go in parallel. So
yeah.
I'll tell you this: it can pass Bitcoins.
Hey now.
Angry Bitcoin maxis have entered the chat.
I think Tone Base keeps leaving whenever we try to have a conversation.
Oh, I watched it in real time yesterday. But again, we've said this on this stream before. God Founder, watches or sees clips of this or, other streams, do those spaces, man. You are reaching thousands of, I know thousands, 1,000 or more hexagons come in to pump it up, but even the moderator was very super respectful and actually, offers Richard the floor pretty much for just about every topic and question. So as much as it might anger the tone vase and he leaves as Richard starts talking, it's a great
and he's doing
to talk to,
and the moderator is doing a very good job of doing a service to these projects that are these people that are coming up, trying to come up with their own unique ideas and things that they think are going to do well. I mean, like, if there's nothing better than having somebody tear your shit apart, and with legitimate concerns and reasons that you probably haven't thought of, so like it's good for everybody.
Too negative with a possible take. How about loan your Hedron off your HSI, stake it 90 days, make one payment on the loan, pay back the HSI with the returned Hedron principal, rinse, repeat, you get free ICOSA, ? And you get to keep your HSI.
Someone might be listening to me. Yes, this is possible. I won't talk about leverage here, but yes, there are ways to use this system in a responsible way to leverage your HSIs to get yield with it. But I'll leave it there. I talked about it, I think, on Sam's channel, so go check it out.
There you go. There was a lot of math on that stream, if I remember that one correctly. If I have all my streams,
it took us a second there to get on the same page. We're like, once we got together, like, okay, now we can go.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a struggle there.
Yeah. I was like, man, okay, come on, David, get your stuff together.
Even Hedron is moving, not Hex, but I mean, maybe Hedron's got a little catching up to do. So, and perhaps I won't say a double, but it's got some room to run here.
I'd say Hex has moved quite a bit in its lifetime.
Yeah, and it's just up 20% in the past week since last year.
Can't compare the two right now.
Yeah.
There were songs written about penny hex, and now we're at 4.
And as I go through the questions, that's why I'm slow in talking here. Richard, in just a casual conversation mention, thinks a possible hex bottom could be in under 3 cents. Not say we can't go back there. Surely we can, or close to it. But was that the low? Don't know. Fun to think about if it's not though. Marco, what's up, man? Want to sell the hex, make an HSI, and then sell it to ICOSA, then ICOSA for USDC. The hex gets locked up. Footsteps. Yeah, you were watching me and day 43, the beach stream a few weeks ago. No fireball this evening, but I do have a lovely rum and coke here. Anybody else drinking any lovely beverages this evening?
Just a water for me right now.
Water.
Okay. Recovering from the past few days of activities, which were not water based.
Bullish was chiming in again. I'm just catching up on comments. So this is what Sloth was talking about a little bit ago. I said this months ago. People thought I was crazy when I said I'll never have to sell my hex, and I didn't even know WTF I was talking about, but understood enough to understand that part. What's the current amount of hex available, and how quick will this run through available hex? That's probably
a good question.
Looks like there's about $14 million of liquidity, total value locked, TVL. I'm looking on Uniswap right now.
Okay.
I don't know what. I guess divide that in half, and that's how much hex is there. I'm not sure. I don't know how to see that.
14 million. So
breakdown.
Yeah, I have 7. So you probably have like less than 200 million hex.
Gains Club. Buy Hex, stake 555, mint Hedron, stake Hedron, mint ICOSA, stake ICOSA, repeat. 36 Chambers, Thank you. There's a 369 fee from the sale of each WAATSA NFT on OpenSea. Who earns that fee?
OpenSea, I think, requires you. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think OpenSea requires you to have some kind of address that collects fees. So it's just an address that Alex generated that collects the fees. Yeah, probably like you could just think of it, whoever similar to like the SA entity is probably what you can think of it as.
Crypto Chrissy UK, interesting RH's comments about Puerto Rico. Hey, Cabana, is it all that? I mean, I've been there, but it's been a long time. So while I am not there a lot of the time, the man way down bottom corner there, cross corner, would be better to answer that question. So perhaps he can answer that when he get back, or a Motley. You can call me more. I'm more so of a Florida man than a Puerto Rican right now. But I've looked into it, and the advantages are wonderful. Is it cracked up, Big K?
I mean,
Is it all
awesome.
that?
It's awesome. I love it. But actually, no. Let me take that back. Terrible. Don't come here. I get why Richard's doing that. He's trying to deflect everybody from wherever the hell he lives.
There we go. Okay, it's awful.
I see his game.
All right.
No, it's fantastic. Enjoying
hey, real quick, Cabana, I actually have to hop off. But,
no.
Yeah, I did too. I got bath times and kids and everything else running around here now.
Yeah, we should probably get the bath time before bath time starts occurring behind Big K. So. What else? I think I've reached the end of the chat, so that's pretty cool.
But yeah, thank you so much for having me on, man. It's an honor to come on your channel. I've been a long-time watcher since I got into Hex, a little over a year ago. So to be on here is great. Big K, great to meet you. Vince, always a pleasure to talk to you. Rags, we've been on a couple streams together. Always great to hang out with you. Yeah.
Show yourself really quick before you go. Your channel and Twitter handle, anywhere people can find you.
Yep. So Crypto Sloth on YouTube, Sloth Crypto 3 on Twitter. I kind of messed up on that and they got different handles.
So do that one more time so people get the right ones. Yeah. So
Crypto Sloth on YouTube.
Okay.
And then Sloth Crypto 3 on Twitter. And then, go follow me on both of those places. And then if you're interested in a one-on-one consultation, hit me up on Twitter and we'll get you all sorted. Okay.
Boom.
Perfect. Looking forward to coming on again at some other time. Take care.
Absolutely.
Everybody.
Yeah. I want to have graphics on too, man. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Peace out.
See you. Sloth rocks. Yes, he does. Awesome. That was a informational pack stream. We say informal, but informative. This one was much more informative. So
yeah, it was good to flex the old brain after letting it mush out a couple days.
Hang out with the amazing pretty quotes and baking. Instead, you let some of that out.
It's good to know it still works. Everything's still cranked up.
That was the baking. This is the steak.
There you go. Exactly. Crypto Vince, where can we find you?
Yes, Crypto Vince 369 on Twitter and Telegram.
Question, Big K. I did miss this one from Crypto King. I don't know if there's a quick answer for this. Asked about the possible issue with ETH proof of work and cheap hex on that chain that may take away economic energy that would have been spent on PulseX. This was brought up in Twitter Spaces.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Do you get a copy of that hex too?
That's a good point.
So
that's cool.
As far as I remember, Richard said he'd like to see no cheap hex anywhere. Yeah. So
remember that.
Play ball. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's gonna. I highly doubt that. I think a lot of hex, and honestly, matters a lot of where we, all as onboarders, everyone out there, where we market and how we direct our onboards. Honestly, that makes a huge difference. So, if we're not going forward, the same question could be made about ETH hex and Pulse hex. When we go in that direction. So, it really matters more. How we're. That's why Richard's framing the hex on the PulseChain as hex, because it's going to be easier to market it that way. It's going to be easier to promote it that way and drive onboards to, whatever, onboard solution that we have to get people in that way. So there's going to be other versions and other, kinds all over the place, and it makes it interesting, but like I said, I'm cool with hex being expensive. Any hex that I have, I'm cool with it being pricey anywhere. That would be fantastic.
There you
if there's
go.
value, if there's value out there that's just hanging out, it incentivizes people to go grab it. And it's not going to be around for long, guys. People are writing scripts to take care of that very fast with the bridge. I mean, it's not going to stick around for long.
I mean, that's like I said, even if they do that, I mean, like you said, like the thing about the system is that like each of these hexes are going to generate yield and are going to work as the system is intended. So like, there'd be no reason to expect, if it works as intended, that if one on any chain becomes less used, because of the balancing the way that Hex balances itself out, if people don't stake as much, you get more returns, so like, and if you get too many, then more people will come and stake, so like, because of that, I think that if there's yield to be made anywhere, people will come to it regardless of what like that's if it's what chain it's on or whatever. People like, we like to think that we're like holding ourselves to some sort of higher standards here, but like at the end of the day, there's like everybody is watching, us included, whoever is pressing the buy and sell buttons at whatever opportunities they see in front of them, and if there's an opportunity to be getting 30 some odd % returns in one hex over here and less on the other one over here, then like you might see an influx towards that one. I mean, it's just like you said, there's people building bots
till it equals out. Yeah, it's not static, it's dynamic. That's what people never seem to realize. It's going to move one direction or the other.
Yeah, that's I mean, people that from the very beginning of Hex, they're like, well, what happens in 15 years? You're like, nothing, because it's just been going on. It's anyways, Big Kurkowski on Twitter and on Telegram. If you go look up the highest of stakes, we're getting really close.
Hey, that was in my notes. Thank you for bringing that up. Before you go, sir, I saw there was a screening. One, have you seen a screening yourself?
I may have seen a screening.
Okay. And two, before Thanksgiving, might we? Or Christmas?
I would love for that. Like I said, it's a dependent on, there's a team of people working on that side of things that is not me. But I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Last question, chances or the odds, I want you to put a percentage number on it, but do you feel good about this getting picked up?
Yes, very good.
Okay.
I mean, like, I think that I feel very good. I mean, like, again, I do these games in my head where I'm like, as somebody who, not only is in it and wants it to be seen by as many people. So I have like how many people I want it to see metrics in my mind. And as like I've got like worst case and best case scenarios that I'm mulling over constantly. And, but like, I mean, even if it's a worst case scenario, I still think it's going to, be a crap ton more eyeballs than, no offense to all of us doing our thing, than our YouTube streams have been garnering, of new eyeballs. So I think I'm super excited for that. And it's, I mean, fuck, it's incredible. I'm super stoked. So.
Crypto Chrissy wants to know, did he make the documentary cut, or are you on the cutting room floor, Chrissy? I don't know. There's lots of edits to be made, and I'm sure
that's the thing is that it all, there's a lot of that depends on who picks it up and everything too. If they want to have we negotiate that they want to make whatever.
Okay, so edits could still be made.
It could be, but I mean, yeah. So I'm not, and I have no part in that. I mean, if I don't like my stuff, maybe I can say something about that. But like, I think I'm a big fan of my parts. So,
yeah, I'm pretty sure we got cut. We had a chance with a particular stream back in the day, but I don't think the guest signed off on that. So sadly, sad face. So yeah. Rags, where can we find you, my good man?
RagsRichesSquad.com. Pretty simple.
Jawa's asking about you.
He always asks about me. Him and Hex Huddle, they're in love with me for some reason.
And he also heard that Big K is the OA. And yeah. And Jawa's talking a little trivia trash. Someday you'll be on stream, you're a trivia master. I mean, you could be a trivia master. You could be Trivial Pursuit Master or current events crypto trivia. That's what we do here. So
Jawa's got a brain on his shoulders, man. I would be afraid if I was the champion. He might be a guy that could threaten that.
All right, watch out, Wendy's and Big K.
I'm excited. I like some good competition.
Big showdown.
Yeah. All right, gents. Thank you so much. Shout out to Crypto Sloth. Thanks for Motley for coming
Yeah,
on
that was
before
awesome.
his little soiree this evening. And yeah, it's just one of those informative versus informal streams. So I hope you got plenty out of this. I mean, there's so much. I'm gonna go back and watch a bunch of it. And thank you for the chat. I mean, you guys just questions.
Yeah, that was lots of fun.
Yeah, and viewers they piled up the stream. Thank you, KD, and everybody else for the positive feedback. And yeah, we're still like well over 200. Thank you, Marco. And yeah, Hedron close to 5 zeros and a 4 as we close out. Last week we closed out with HEX just close to 4 cents. You just take away a few zeros. But yeah, the old Hedron, man, that looks ripe. Oh, it's exciting. Could be a fun weekend, guys. So
yes.
Thanks, everybody. We will see where Hedron, HEX, and everything else ends up next week. Cheers, everybody, and we will see you then.